VikesNow, Dustin Baker. We're doing a first of its kind thing. I've had the show going since June. Most of the time it's just me, but I have guests sometimes. I have Josh for every week, but we're having the whole damn panel this week because we are a mere 9 hours before kickoff, Vikings and Eagles. By the time you're watching this, probably 3 or 4 hours. So I'm going to give about 5 different dudes here who write for VikingsTerritory.com and PurplePTSD.com an open forum to say whatever the hell they would like about Vikings Eagles. The Eagles are favored by about 2 points, depending on the sports book you look at, and that's essentially home field advantage. So all the power to them. We shall see. Josh Fry are already on record saying that we predict, unfortunately, dirty word, the Eagles to win because he and I are still convinced that the Vikings are cursed on the road on Monday Night Football. Maybe it changes tonight. But alas, we're going to go through 5 different opinions. I've given each gentleman an open forum to say whatever the hell they want. If they want to go off on a tangent on why the Vikings are going to win 52-0, great. If they think we're dead in our tracks, that's fine with this show as well. So we shall start in Brazil. Henrique, identify yourself, where they can find you, and give us your spiel on Vikings, Eagles, good sir.
Hi everyone that's listening. You can find me on Twitter at H_Gutiardi. I basically only speak Portuguese because I'm from Brazil. But if you want to give me a follow, sure, follow you back. I can also speak in English, as everyone here knows. I wrote an article, I think, yesterday about this Vikings-Eagles game. And one of my predictions was that if we could contain Jalen Hurts, the game would be much easier. Because this such a big element of the Eagles' offense is the Hurts running. Their running attack in general. But I think if you can make Hurts beat us only with Arm, it would be, I think, not, I don't know if easier, but I think it would take a strong element of their game. So I think not just sack him, but like frustrate him into only throwing the ball, not able to break out of the pocket. And of course, on offense, just blocking Jordan Davis. Because I think that's in week 1, when he was on the field, it was like 2.9 yards per carry, and off the field, 10 yards per carry. So when he's on the field, it will be huge to block him, and like Ed Ingram, Ezra Cleveland, and Bradbury will be having a really, really tough job.
And then on Jordan Davis, it's kind of a badass thing for him to have a game-wrecking reputation after one game.
Yeah, he played like 22 snaps.
Yeah,
Then playing a third of the game.
Yeah, and I think, unless I'm mistaken, I think there's some people on the show that even wanted to see him drafted by the Vikings based on his physical freakishness. Josh is nodding his head, the resident draft expert. So if you're saying the Eagles need to throw it, which is fine and dandy, we'd rather have him do that. What if A.J. Brown does his thing again and has 155 yards? And, because the secondary, unless you're super duper high on Dantzler and Peterson, is a little skimpy without Booth. So if they get cooking through the air, it's like Chris Boyd and the Pals. Any reservations about the secondary?
Actually, a lot, but last week they had A.J. Brown with 150 yards and Hurts with, like, I think close to 100 yards running. So I think you have to pick your poison here. And I prefer to bet that I can stop Hurts, or just like keep the Eagles on third and long, second and long, so we can have our 2 safeties covering the deep ball and helping cover A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, through our conversations last year, I think your gig is to pick the Vikings to win every game. Is that what you're doing with this?
Every game. Yeah, of course. I will never pick the Vikings to lose.
All right. Well, at least you're consistent. So that's no big mystery. But tell me a realistic score then, if you see the Vikings coming out on top.
I think 28-24. I think our offense is good. We have a lot of playmakers, but I really think that their offense will have a good game as well, and maybe a lucky touchdown for us, a lucky field goal for them, and maybe we can win this game.
All right, cool. All right, I invite you to stay on unless you have to skedaddle. You can interject throughout the rest of the dude's soliloquies. Nate, we are to you, good sir. If I understand correctly, you are a Browns fan, or at least you cover the Browns. tell me if that's true and tell us where we can find you before you launch into your Vikings Eagles speech.
Yeah, so I am a big Browns fan. You guys can find me on Twitter at pnate22. That's my official Twitter handle. And I am also serving as a bar trivia host with Sporkle. We're doing that every Tuesday night at the Foundry Social in Medina, Ohio.
Ooh.
And here's what I thought. Like Henrique, I kind of want to see the Vikings defense make the Eagles offense go one-dimensional early, shut down the run, and force Hurts to pass. But we know how dangerous Hurts can be as a dual threat guy. And don't sleep on Miles Sanders, because sometimes, he can slip under the radar as a quietly solid back. So I really think tonight it's going to be up to the front seven when you've got guys like Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith, who are kind of the anchors on the edges to really kind of shut down the running game early and then kind of get Hurts uncomfortable in the pocket. Meanwhile, on the offensive side of the ball, I would say you got to go for more of a diversified approach, kind of make sure everyone gets a touch here and there. Why not try and use Adam Thielen's speed as a receiver on like a couple of jet sweeps, or kind of give the receivers a chance to prove their explosive speed in the run game?
So you talked about the dudes up front on defense. Does it give you any pause that the Eagles offensive line is considered like a top 3 bunch? This isn't the tackle-less Packers without Bakhtiari and Jenkins. Do you think that the defensive line comes back to earth?
I think they will come back down to earth a little bit, but I feel like they'll still be able to put some decent pressure and maybe get a couple of sacks tonight.
Fair enough. And on your point about Miles Sanders, it's one of those scenarios where every time you look up, they could have a new dude with the ball in his hands, from Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, Miles Sanders, and then of course Hurts himself. So they have multiple ways to get it done, and that's what makes me nervous, is that they have the wherewithal to control the time of possession. I know people don't think that's very important, but I'm here to report that it is, especially with the way the Vikings play football, or at least they used to. Nate, give me a prediction, if you would, sir. You're not a Vikings fan, so this is objective. What do you got?
When I originally wrote the predictions piece a couple of weeks ago, I had the Eagles taking this one 26-21. I'm sticking with the Eagles, but I'm going to make it a little bit closer of a score. I'm going to say 23-21.
Ooh, okay. All right. Just like Enrique, I invite you to stay on the show, and then if anything comes up that grabs your attention, make sure to interject. But for now, thank you, Nate. We'll move on to Cole, my man. Skull Cole. I think that's where we find you in general, but correct me if I'm wrong. What's the Twitter, and how are you, good sir?
I'm good. You find me at Skull Smith on Twitter. Smith. And yeah, so I'm pretty excited about tonight. I rewatched the Eagles-Lions game, and the Lions got a lot of pressure on Hurts. He still had 90 rushing yards, but 64 of those came from undesigned runs. The Lions really lived in the backfield. They pressured him 17 times on 42 dropbacks. But like Aiden Hutchinson, we all know he's really good, but he was so young. It was his first game. Mm-hmm. So he'd like over pursue. He'd open up rushing lanes, and then Hurts made him pay for it. So if we can just be smarter with how we rush, I think that we can get a few sacks on him. I think I think PFF said we only pressured Rodgers like 11 times, but we got to him 4 times. So, it's just about being smarter, pushing the pocket up the middle, and then Zadarius and Hunter kind of sealing off the edges and keeping Hurts contained, because Hurts had a decent passing game, He was only 18 of 32. No picks, no touchdowns. If we can make him be a pocket passer, I mean, he wasn't doing super great. And then just get your hands up. Lions batted down 3 passes last week. So I think if we can stop that, if we can contain Hurts, Vikings have a really good shot tonight, I think.
That's one thing I keep telling myself, because I'm like, why did I pick the Eagles? My heart keeps saying, you can change it on your couch when you sit down. But what gives me hope is that Jalen Hurts, good quarterback, but he's not some, gangbuster Josh Allen type. And just because we have these Monday Night Road demons and because he's a mobile quarterback, you tend to think, oh God, here we go. But he's not very good. He's decent, and he might be good in 2 years, and he could be an all-pro and all that. But right now, we're not going up against some legend. And I think it's tempting to think, oh God, he's so good, but he's really not. He's explosive, dynamic. He'll get there. But I don't think he's this ultimate badass as of yet. You talked about the Lions for a second, which is an apropos topic because bada bing, we played them in 6 days. I think we have to start examining that game from a lens that son of a bitch is not a pushover any longer. Do you agree?
I agree. The Lions, they had a shot to, like I said, to beat the Eagles. Really handled Washington yesterday. So I don't know. I still think we're better than them because Goff is not great. They would have beaten the Eagles last week had Goff not been so bad. Honestly, they scored 3 of their 4 touchdowns or 4 drives last week in the second half. They scored touchdowns on 3 of them. The one drive they didn't, Goff missed Josh Reynolds by barely. Just outstretched arms. It would have been a walk-in touchdown. So, but yeah.
Yeah, another thing that the league should take notice of is that they're wreaking all this havoc without Jameson Williams, their first-round pick. So, in theory, they should only get more rich when he's ready. And I don't know if that's going to be in 2 weeks or 2 months. But that's an interesting caveat that even without the dude that was gift wrapped from the Vikings to the Lions is – they're still cooking. And when you look at them in an optimistic lens, they got Swift, Jamal Williams, TJ Hawkinson, Amon-Ra, who's going to be absolutely fabulous in this league. And then Williams, when he gets back, you're like, goodness, they really are a quarterback away from being there.
Yeah. We're going to have to play our best tonight, but it's going to be a short turnaround. We're going to have to be ready because that team's gonna make some havoc. They're not our old school Lions anymore.
No, the Vikings historically are 79-40-2 against the Lions, which is utter domination compared to other division rivals of any team. They beat their ass habitually. And as of Monday morning, the Lions offense per EPA per play ranked 7th in the NFL. However, their defense is still the Lions. They rank 30th. So they're engaging in these shootouts against these NFC East teams. Defense isn't there, even though Hutchinson got off the schneid. Let's see. Cole, give me a prediction, and we'll move on to Will.
Going to be pretty optimistic about this one. Even though the Eagles are in their home opener tonight, I've got the Vikings 27, Eagles 13.
Oh, well, geez. Well, you're like the Price is Right here. You're going with the big distance to catch the miniature blowout.
Yeah. Everybody else goes for 3 or 4 point games. I'm gonna be a little bold in this one.
Yep, that's the Price is Right factor, which Nate mentioned before we even got on the air here. All right, Will, second to last guest. Tell me your take on this. You've got 2 to 4 minutes, whatever your windpipe suggests. And where can we find you?
All right. So, Will Woodford, you can find me on Twitter at Woodford_Will. I think the most interesting thing to me about this game is how is Kevin O'Connell going to game plan for this Eagles defense? I've heard him talk all week about how what we did against the Packers was how he thought it was the best way we could win. It includes why Johnny Munt was playing over Smith, why Adam Thielen didn't get as many touches, although he stepped up when he needed to. And I think to me, you have to kind of set the tone early on the ground. I think if you can kind of calm everyone down, this is a high emotion type game. If you can kind of get a couple runs there with Dalvin Cook and Alex Madison, get Garrett Bradbury and Ed Ingram settled down, just so that they don't kind of crap their pants later in the game when Jordan Davis is running at them on third and short. Just kind of get that game flowing and get everyone set. We'll start to make mistakes if the emotions run too high and all of a sudden we're scrambling around trying to make a play on third and long. Keep it in second and manageable, third and short. Utilize play action and just keep rolling. Like keep rolling from last week. Settle down, calm down, and just keep it rolling. And I think defensively, it's kind of the same thing. Zadarius Smith and Daniel Hunter were all over. Not only all over Aaron Rodgers, they were all over emotionally. Zadarius Smith was ready to go against Green Bay. He wanted that game bad. I love that emotion, especially on the defensive side when you're still thinking, but you don't have to think as much as you are offensively. But it's got to be controlled, and I think the way Kevin O'Connell handles his team, he's able to kind of push that in the right direction rather than just kind of let it run wild, and that's when mistakes happen.
So you appear to be younger than me, sir. Does this Monday night voodoo bother you at all? The Vikings can't really win on the road on Mondays unless it's against the Bears, or is that a moot point because it's a new coaching staff?
I don't think it's a moot point, because I mean historically the Vikings, if you want to talk about purple pain, I mean even me at 20 years old, I know how that feels. The first time I ever followed Vikings football was 2009,
Okay.
because we were really good, and I felt indoctrinated after that. But I think, no, I think the Monday night thing, we've heard Kirk Cousins talk about it before, about how he hears that noise and it's just kind of a game for him,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of what I was talking about earlier with this high emotion game. I think he knows it. He's very aware of it. I think the coaching staff is very aware of it. They're just going to have to just keep everything rolling from last week. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see anything like kind of, I don't want to see them regress. I want to see them progress and just keep going.
And something's got to give with Cousins, because I don't know if you guys watched the Fox telecast yesterday, but they were showing, the scores, and then it said, Eagles, Vikings Monday night, Kirk Cousins 2-9, the worst record of all time in Monday Night Football. It's like, oh yeah, you got to throw that one in there. So he's got this dynamic. He sucks on Monday night. He can't get it done. However, against the Eagles, his teams are 6-3 all time, and he is a Eagle killer, at least for the Commanders and those two games against the Vikings in 2018 and 2019. So he's either going to be Monday night Kirk, which the media loves or hates, depending on how you look at it, where he's going to suck, or he's going to be who we know, the Eagle killer Kirk, or something in the middle. So something's got to give there. All right, before we move on to Josh, Will, give me your prediction. What do you got?
Oh, jeez. I almost want to say that the Eagles are going to win, just because, like, if I say it and then I'm wrong, I'm happy. But no, Vikings 34, Eagles 28. I think we get a couple big kicks late to kind of push it out of the way. The Eagles score once late in the fourth quarter to kind of make it a closer game than it is. But yeah, I think we're winning tonight.
And if they do, by this time tomorrow, it will, I know it's early, but it'll feel like one of those special seasons to be a Viking fan. And it's not because they're incredibly badass. It's because the NFC is so wide open because other teams have played like poop. Right now, it's the Buccaneers and the Giants who are undefeated, and nobody cares about the Giants. The Bucs will be there in the end. We know that. But then who else? They're all 1-1, or they're the Eagles and the Vikings. So no matter who wins tonight, that team, they're going to bang the drum, me, and then the national media are going to say, all right, well, it looks like the Eagles are for real, or it looks like the Vikings are for real, because they'll be the only undefeated. All right, Josh. Oh, and the other thing, Will brought up Kevin O'Connell. I don't know if you guys saw, Philadelphia Inquirer had an article that Kevin O'Connell grew up an Eagles fan, and I never heard that before in my life. I was like, are they sure they didn't transpose this with Justin Jefferson, or excuse me, with Kwesi? because I know he grew up a Cunningham fan, but per the Philadelphia Inquirer, Kevin O'Connell grew up a fan of Cunningham too. So we have all these Cunningham disciples in the Vikings leadership. It's very cool, but very odd. But O'Connell was born in Tennessee, played high school football in California, but somehow has East Coast roots and was an Eagles fan as a kid. I've never heard that before in my life. So 2 Eagles fans are running the Vikings. So maybe we'll have some vengeance factor there tonight. Josh, we
Randall
heard.
Cunningham finished his career with the Vikings. The Vikings are finishing the Eagles tonight.
Oh, boom. There's the soundbite. If I was cool enough to have like a producer department, I would pull that quote out and we would just tweet that. And that would be the show. You'd be the video soundbite, good sir. Josh Fry, we heard from you last week. But now arguably some things have changed. The Lions gave you more perspective based on how they played and how they played against the Eagles in week 1. You're already picking the Eagles, but give me, I guess, your closing arguments on this game.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Kevin O'Connell Kwesi thing. Like, either it's going to be really good juju or it's going to be really bad juju for the Vikings tonight because of that. We'll see what happens. But I really see this game going in one of 2 different directions. Either the 2 defensive fronts for this team, like the Eagles, obviously Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, all those guys, and then the Vikings, Darius Smith and Neil Hunter. Either those guys just dominate the offensive lines, and this is just a defensive battle this entire night, and it ends up being like 14-10 or something. Or the wide receivers just go absolutely nuts tonight, because Justin Jefferson, I think he's going to be looking for a huge game again tonight. A.J. Brown, he was incredible in week 1 against the Lions. Obviously, it's the Lions, but he's still an incredible player. But yeah, I picked the Eagles to win this game 31-24. But the things I'm really looking for is, obviously, the Vikings aren't good against mobile quarterbacks. Ed Donatell's not good against mobile quarterbacks. But I don't think that there's really been a linebacker group for Donatell in his coaching tenure that he has right now. And I think it'll be interesting to see if they do like a bit of a QB spy strategy on Hurts tonight, because I think Tampa Bay did an excellent job of that in the playoffs, containing him in the pocket, like Nate said. And if they can turn him into a pure passer, he's below average at that.
That's what I meant earlier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he's not anything special in that department. I think in that playoff game, he threw for under 50% of his passes, something like that.
They looked like shit in that game. I remember it vividly because I picked them. They looked so good in the end of season metrics from week 13 to 18 that was one of my upset picks. And then I watched the game and I was like, I'm an asshole. These guys look like idiots.
Yeah, no, yeah. The Todd Bowles defense, that blitz strategy that he employs, it'll get you every time if you're not ready for it. And if the Vikings can do that successfully, put in maybe like Eric Hendricks, maybe even Jordan Hicks on him as a spy, I think they can contain him and make him a pure passer. But then it all comes down to, is the secondary actually good? Because A.J. Brown's coming and they've got Devontae Smith. They're gonna be throwing the ball. There's gonna be Miles Sanders in the backfield they've got to deal with. There's a ton of weapons on this offense, and without Andrew Booth, it's going to be an all hands on deck sort of night. And especially if they can contain those receivers a little bit, this is probably going to be like Vikings easy win if they can actually prove that they can do that. But I don't think they're going to quite get the best of the Eagles tonight. I picked the Eagles to be my Super Bowl Bowl contender in the NFC before the season started. So if the Vikings do lose tonight, I don't think there's anything to panic about, because at the end of the day, you're in first place in the NFC North. Like, that's all that really matters. Just get a shot at the dance, and anything can happen in the playoffs. But if they do win tonight, then it's time to get excited, because this team's really good.
I have some friends from high school that I'm in various Vikings group chats that, they're doing the fan thing. Like, Vikings are going to win tonight, baby, which fine. We're getting hyped up, but I keep saying, like, but it's not like over if they lose, folks. Like, because they beat the Packers so handily, they got cover last week. Now, if they would have lost last week, no matter how, field goal or just teeth kicked in, then this game, how they played, would be super important, because you can't go 0-2. Only 11% of teams make the playoffs after going 0-2. But the win over Green Bay changed everything, because it showed that they hired the right guy. If he can handle the bright lights of the first game against the Packers, he's ready. And I mean, even if they go 9-8 this year and sneak in the 7th seed, he showed me enough in week 1 to show that, he's got a pair. And so I'm ready for this. But yeah, to anybody watching, if the Vikings lose 31-7, they lose 27-24, you don't going to go, oh, Like, that's not what this is. They beat the Packers, so they have house money right now. Now, to Josh's point, if they win again, I'm telling you, it's going to. We're not gonna get into 2009 territory like was referenced earlier when Will became a fan. However, if you beat the Vikings and Packers, then you look at the schedule with new sunglasses on, because you got the Lions, who are usually the Lions. You got to go play the Saints, neutral territory, and then these shitty Bears, and you're like, holy goodness, what are we into here? So that's at stake. It's the momentum, the hype, like how if you can realistically get excited about a Super Bowl, I think will be determined tonight. Now, if they lose, then you got to say, all right, how do they rebound against these other teams? One thing that nobody mentioned was Jalen Reagor. I wanted to know, does anybody think he makes any sort of mark on this game, because they traded his ass, 3-4 weeks ago?
80-yard punt return touchdown.
Oh yeah,
First punt.
The very first one.
Touchdown. First punt touchdown.
All right. Well, you can bet I'll be tagging you on Twitter if that happens as the guy who called it.
I don't know. A punt return touchdown would be nice, and I sure as hell hope it happens. But the only 3 receivers to step on the field offensively last week were Jefferson, Thielen, and Osborne.
And they didn't even play
I wonder,
Irv.
They barely.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he gets worked in just a little bit. I don't know where it would come from. I don't know if he gets targets or how it's going to work. But I almost want to see like a 4 wide receiver just to see kind of how it works and what kind of the options are.
Yeah, and it would be him, because Amir Smith-Marset doesn't work here anymore. And if they do go to those 4 wideouts, it would have to be Reagor. BC Johnson tore his ACL again. So it's at some point he will be intermixing the offense, because Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is too smart to just trade a 4th rounder for a punt returner. I mean, you can go sign a punt returner anywhere and maybe that guy scores a touchdown. But I have reason to believe that Reagor will be involved some point soon, because otherwise it's dumbassery to trade a 4th rounder for a punt returner. The final thing I'm going to be watching for, I said this on the show this weekend, is with Justin Jefferson now presumably going up against Darius Slay, unless they do some weird shit where they don't put their best corner on him like the Packers usually do. I want to know if he's entering unguardable, uncoverable territory, because in my lifetime there's only about 4 dudes like that: Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, and Randy Moss, where it doesn't matter who's guarding him. Like, even if you have some shutdown guy, good for you. And it really feels like Jefferson's getting there. And that's why whenever I see the Diggs trade, who won the trade, or ever they both won the trade, it's like, that's bullshit to me, because I never felt this way about Diggs. Diggs was marvelous. But to me, when Diggs caught the football, that was it. There was no real yards after catch, unless it was, a playoff game, a momentous one. But Jefferson just kind of like thrashes like a fish when he gets the ball and, gets the yards after catch. And while Diggs is phenomenal, if he still played here, I'd love him. I think Jefferson is hitting this tier of like, I don't know that it matters who you put on him, because he's just that uncoverable. I want to see if it continues that type of fruition. All right, gentlemen, we've hit that 30-minute mark. I got to get this posted so people can actually watch it. I appreciate you joining this, and I will take Josh's recommendation into consideration and get your guys' schedules. Maybe we can make this a semi-weekly routine type of thing.
Sounds good.
Anything else,
Sounds
guys?
good.
I just appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, gentlemen.
Thank you as well.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, 7:30 tonight, Central Time. I'm not sure what time that is for you in Brazil, Henrique, but
9:30.
9:30. That's not too bad. We got dudes that write in Germany. Janik, if you're watching, we sympathize for you. You got to watch it at weird hours. All right, that's all we got. And Skol, baby.